Hi, this is Jimbo with Altcoin Buzz. On today, the 15th of November, back for another TA segment. Thanks for joining us. In today's video, we will check over the Bitcoin price action as we normally do. We're going to have a look at a couple of the altcoin charts, which might be of some interest to you guys, and we'll do a little general market roundup. If you guys are new here, remember to hit subscribe so you can get all the freshest Altcoin Buzz content as it's released. And if you like the sound of the content on today's video, please remember to slap a thumbs up on the video. So we'll start on the daily chart as we normally do for Bitcoin, and as you can see, we continue to consolidate along the blue support line. Although I must say, guys, right now this candle is looking quite eerie. We are very much testing the blue support line of the wedge that we focused in on previously. As you can see right there, getting very, very close to crossing that line there. And guys, what I will remind you is that what we're looking for is a close below. So at the moment, even though we're hanging on that line, if we to see some positive price action today that bounces us back off, you know, it wouldn't be the scariest thing in the world. This is still acting as support at the moment. However, it does look like it could break at any moment, so we'll have to keep a keen watch on that. As I've said in previous video, guys, if we were to break this blue line, then be looking at this red support line here, about 7,900 initially, and a break of that could see us go all the way down here to test 6,800. However, as I said in the previous video, until we break that blue line, this is still a bullish formation, and you know, any springboard bounce off this could confirm our falling wedge breakout and see some big gains. And again, as I've said previously, if we were to see that springboard, we'll extend this line out here. We'll be looking at a test of this red upper resistance line here, about 9,600. So, you know, guys, I'm just trying to identify the ranges as I always do. I'm not a financial advisor, nor am I giving you financial advice. We're just looking at the charts and seeing what we can deduce from the patterns it is creating, and that's what I'm seeing at the moment. We're traveling and consolidating along this support line, and until we see a clear close, I won't be acting on that. Perhaps if I saw a daily close underneath this blue line, I might consider opening a short. That, you know, maybe, I'm not 100% sure yet. With our stochastic RSI down so far at the moment, who knows what can happen. As you can see, when we were down in this area before, once we broke that support line down in that area on the stochastic RSIs, we had this huge sell-off. So, you know, potentially we could see something like that play out, but yet we're yet to see any confirmations of that, so I won't be acting until I see some confirmations. We have seen our 7 exponential daily moving average cross back down below the 50 daily exponential moving average, which is of note. Probably not the most significant indicator we have here on the chart, but it is worth noting. Yeah, let's dive in just quickly and have a look at the 4-hour chart and see if there's anything there that's going to give us any more indication of which way this might go. Now, guys, we have in one of our previous videos we were talking about the importance of this 50 exponential moving average, as well as the support that was being formed by the 200 moving average there. Now, we have broken down below the 200 moving averages, and in today we have gone up, tested this 200 moving average, been rejected, and now we've come back down. So, guys, here's the area of focus from my perspective. The area of focus right now is between the blue support line and the 200 moving average here, this red line. I wouldn't be surprised to see price trade in this range. Now, what's going to happen is we are either going to come up and break this 200 moving average on the 4-hour chart, and if we do that, then expect another retest of this 50 exponential moving average, which, as you can see, it has formed as resistance here once before. So a break of that would be rather bullish, and then would be on the way up to this red resistance line as we discussed on the daily chart. And again, the inverse of that is break the blue line and go on to test the red resistance and so forth. What have we got on the charts? We've got our RSI getting weaker at the moment. It's currently flatlining on this candle. We've still got 2 hours of this to play out, and it's going to be an interesting one, isn't it, guys? And we've seen 2 pretty violent candles today. Clear signs of indecisiveness within the market. So worth keeping an eye on Bitcoin and any open positions, in my opinion, because if this thing starts to move quickly, then obviously it's going to affect the whole market. Okay, so that's enough Bitcoin talk for today. Currently sat at 8,450. Let's see where it goes and see how our lines play out in the next video. Next, I want to take us over to the Enjin chart. Now, guys, Enjin coin, we've discussed it on here before. I was showing you in the previous video that we had this triangle formation forming with higher lows and lower highs. And as we know, we can draw our support and resistance lines across those peaks to form our range and see it tightening. And as I was saying to you guys, I would start looking and taking interest when we started to see this getting up to this resistance line, and that is exactly what is happening. We've seen our 7 exponential moving average cross over our 50 exponential moving average, and more significantly price across the 50 exponential moving average as well, and we are now testing the upper resistance of this formation. Guys, this could be very close to breakout, and if it does break out, I think we are going to see quite a lot of movement. I would even go as far as giving a target for this, if we were to break up to the upside, of course, up here around the 1,000 mark. And why do I say that? There's a few reasons, and I'm going to show you why. One, we have seen this line act as a resistance previously as we came down on 2 occasions. We had it here and again here, so it would make sense, and also it aligns quite nicely with our current level of the 200 moving average, which we know can act as resistance. But guys, depending on what your risk to reward strategy is, etc, etc, you might be looking at this right now thinking any daily close above this line could be very nice over the next few candles for a trade. Not financial advice. I'm not telling you to buy in any way, shape or form. I'm just showing you guys what I'm looking at on the charts, and this is quite a positive pattern. On the flip side of that, I've got to tell you the inverse, and as you can see, we have had the 7 cross the 50 in this pattern, and we have tested the upper range of the limit, but come back down to fail it. So, just because it's there doesn't mean that it's absolutely gospel that it's going to cross and break out. All I'm saying is we are at a point of interest where essentially we could be on for a breakout. Now, this line's quite a thick line that I've got overlined here, but I would say realistically, if we have a look at that where we broke up before at about 800 satoshis. Now, any daily close anywhere near that 800 satoshis could be our confirmation for breakout, and I would be very interested at that point. So something worth keeping an eye on, guys. As always, just take it as what it is. This is just me looking at the charts and showing you guys what I'm looking at. With that in mind, the next chart. Actually, before we go on to the next chart, let's just have a quick 4-hour scan and see if we've got any indications of what's going on. You can see we've been battling this resistance quite stiff right now. I find it quite interesting that we've gone up, retested, and then seen this next big green candle. I'd say that's quite bullish, but I would want to see this continue to kick on within this candle to confirm the breakout. But I do like the fact that this rise, once we found this resistance at the resistance line, we didn't completely crash off and start to head back down to the bottom support line, which is sometimes what happens. You can see here, when we failed it, we very quickly came back down and retested the bottom support. So the fact that we've actually seen such a nice big bounce candle so early is really good. It's a good sign. But we've still got 2 hours and 10 minutes of play on this candle, and we are quite overbought at the moment. Perhaps we're going to see this do a similar thing to what Bitcoin did. Perhaps we'll see it break out and then come back down and test the this resistance and use it as support at that point, and then springboard off it. But I'm just trying to highlight things of interest on what I think is interesting. In the thoughts of that, let's have a look at a chart that we discussed in the previous video, and that's CRO. Now, at the time, guys, I was saying to you that I was finding interest in CRO because we were seeing these lows get higher, and more to the point, the actual acceleration rate of the angle of the lines was increasing. So we've got our lows getting higher more frequently and quicker, right? So that's showing that there's strength in the market. I said that there was a good chance we would go up and test this 4-5 area, if not go beyond, and we did. We saw a 20%, essentially a 20% 4-hour candle. So yeah, nice to see that. I wasn't expecting it to be quite as explosive, but if you go back and watch the last video, we did discuss that. What's happened after that? Well, subsequently we've seen we've seen this big rejection, and we've come back down. We are yet to break this support line that we had drawn in previously. I think that's quite interesting that that hasn't happened, and it could be indicative of the fact that we are going to continue to see it go up, but there's no pure confirmation of that just yet, but that's just speculation. So, just keep an eye on it. See if this ascending triangle continues to form and get tighter and tighter. And if this angle speeds up any further, then one thing that we can say is if we were to break this horizontal resistance and close above it, then potentially the move after that could be very, very quick and explosive because of how much interest this will have gathered. The more times you knock on the door of a resistance, it tends to be the more explosive the break. And but it's not always that. Sorry, that's a bit. That's not wrong, but it's a little bit suggestive. That's not always the case. It doesn't always have to be that way. It's just something that I've noticed. And as you can see, there's only so long. I like the visualization of a beach ball underwater. There's only so many times that you can force it down before it springs up and breaks out. And you can kind of see that visualized in the chart, right? You can see it getting pushed down and springing back up and being pushed down. And so, something's happening here. There's something brewing in the price action. And I would imagine there's quite a lot of accumulation going on at this stage. So worth having a look at, guys. But it was interesting to see that moved 20%. And to wrap up today's video, we will have a look at a related chart, and that is MCO. So the other coin that is linked to CRO is MCO. And guys, this is looking, look at that rise. Really, really nice. Been a nice natural rise over the last few months since early September when it hit its bottom down here at 2,900. We're all the way back up now at 5,000. There's been some pretty bullish news in the space for MCO and CRO. So go and check that out if you haven't already. There's some interesting things happening there in regards to their debit card and their the areas that they're trying to aim at and markets that they're aiming at. So worth going and doing your research there for sure. Actually, MCO is one of my favourite projects personally, but that's just personal. Anyway, what I wanted to point out was that our 7 exponential moving average has been formed as a really good support during this uptrend, and we are at an absolutely decisive point where our 200 moving average is being met by our 7 exponential moving average, guys. Now, this could be a really bullish move. If we were to break above this 200 moving average and the 7 continues to move as support, we could see this really, really start to run. Now, there are a couple of things that may suggest that it might get rejected once more before we move for real. And obviously we've got... Actually, there's no hidden bearish divergence. Potentially, you've got a bearish divergence here where we've got this previous spike back in October where we were really overbought. And as you can see, our relative strength index is yet to get that high, but price has continued to move up. Now, that is usually conceived as a bearish indicator that the price has continued to go up and the relative strength is reducing. However, we're also seeing higher lows at the moment within the relative strength index, and just as we get tightening ranges within price, we can also have tightening ranges within the RSI. And as you can see, there is still potential for a breakout of this tightening wedge here on the RSI. So if this was to break to the upside, then I would imagine it would probably be followed by quite a lot of volume. So worth keeping an eye on. Our stochastics are currently pointing down right now, but we are still seeing a green candle on the day. We are really close to potential big breakout here. Potential. I keep using that word, potential. You've got to keep your eyes on it, right, guys? It doesn't always move like clockwork. Stochastic RSI has been in the bull zone for all the way back since the beginning of that move, really. We crossed over back here on the 10th of September. Sorry about that. Would have been a great time to get in had you entered on that crossover back here on the 10th of September as the stochastic RSI crossed over and we were leaving our oversold territory on the RSI, and you would have probably made a really tidy profit had you entered on that signal. Let's have a quick look. This is the 3-day chart, if you guys are wondering. That pop-up from Windows, it keeps wanting to do some updates. Got to restart it at some point and getting done, otherwise I'm going to keep getting that pop-up. Anyway, guys, you can see, had you entered on that signal for the crossover here of the 3-day stochastic RSI, you would be currently... Well, actually, that's the peak. Let's say currently 64.7% in profit, roughly. So, that's a hell of a signal that was shown there on the stochastic RSI on the 3-day. Just trying to point out the ways and timings that these indicators can work for us, guys. And you can see there that cross, had you traded that cross on the stochastic RSI, you would have really, really seen some nice returns at this point. Anyway guys, I think that pretty much wraps up the video for today. I apologise for the pop-up interruption. That's not very professional. I'll make sure it doesn't happen in the next one. Again, as I said before, if you've enjoyed the content, please put a like on the video and subscribe to Altcoin Buzz if you haven't, and you can keep watching these videos when they come in. Comment in the section if you've got anything to say about the video, or you want to share any of your trading tips. I'd be really interested to read those and see what you guys are doing out there in the crypto space. And other than that, have a nice day, guys. I will see you later on down the trend line.